Thanks for tuning in, Smash team, to the smAsho stream. We got a lot of stuff to cover, including economic information, Mount Sinabung volcano eruption, Hong Kong protests, and 0 sunspots. Can give you about a minute of lead time, and then we'll be back. Here's the sun on 193 angstroms in the meantime. We've got 171 angstrom view. We see some filamentary activity in the northeast, otherwise a very inactive sun. We see a plage that's going into a setting mode right now. An active region, which you'll see in the colored magnetogram, shown in yellow and in green. Basically 4 fields there. And the first one is setting right now. That is a cycle 24 plage. Let's do one more view here. 94 angstroms. All right, and let's move on to some other stuff here. As again, there's a lot of stuff to cover, and we're trying to shorten up the live streams a little bit. So here's the real-time solar wind. And we see phi angle looking like a coronal hole connection right there, close to 180 degrees, which is an increase in your earthquake risk. So if you're in an earthquake-prone area, please have a plan. Solar wind density dropping very low to solar minimum levels at about 1.3 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed, very nominal also, 359. We're going to look at the magnetosphere movies next, and we expect them to look weak. So we expect to see a very low density here, shown as light colors on the density magnetosphere movie, and we'll let that play through to archive 4 hours of the data, as that is part of the purpose of our YouTube channel, is to provide data otherwise not available, as well as analysis not available. So very low density. Here's the pressure, and that is magnetohydrodynamic pressure. And the magnetosphere is weak. That is a solar minimum condition. And if you think conditions like that cause the planet to get warmer, then I feel very sorry for you. Anyway, there are the magnetosphere movies. We'll look at ground perturbations also, although we don't expect there to be significant ground perturbations. This data also courtesy of University of Michigan. So there does not appear to be a lot going on in terms of polar excursion type stuff right now, as there's not a lot of input current traveling through the planet. Let's move on to much more stuff, such as smAshomash.org. Let me tell you about our mission. It is to assist, study, and report on the ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics, to raise the awareness of the general public of the relationship between space, weather, and Earth effects, to connect and consult with media organizations to multiply our reach, to demonstrate cutting-edge proof of concept solutions to problems, to publish scientific papers in a multidisciplinary manner, to assist mankind by advancing the study of predictive phenomenon, and to not be ossified in our beliefs, and to treat those who are with love, respect, and inclusion to the scientific discussion. If you'd like to support that cause, please visit our links in the description below the video, one of which is Hemp Lucid's Spaced Out campaign, just for our spaced out viewers. So we're dipping our tippy toe into the affiliate space here, folks. If you're interested in these type of products, please buy them via our affiliate link, as it helps to track our viewership and our reach. And I just kicked my computer, and hopefully I didn't kill it. Also, follow us on Patreon, and heads up to YouTube viewers, there are some new graphics coming out. We're going to keep them similar enough to be recognizable. So thanks, patrons. It's making a huge difference, your support. And I've lost my place. Also, we're looking to raise another $5,445 by the first day of summer. So please donate to that also if you like. Congratulations to Kim Geist and Christina Birch, who won the World Cup Madison event at our local velodrome. These are teammates, and this is the same kit that I wear practically every time I ride my bike. So follow me on Instagram also. Instagram.com/smAsho if you want a little more personal stuff besides space weather. Here's a water snake I photographed yesterday. And here's a side view sunrise.
Gold has no upside because 1350 has capped every rally for the past 6 years. So you have this major resistance in the price of gold. And nobody wants to bet that we go through it.
Precious metals, folks. Peter Schiff. Listen to Peter Schiff. Visit the sponsor shop, theveloshop.net. Buy yourself a bike or 3. Links in the description. Also to my GoFundMe page, as I'm punching up well above my ability. Also check out nextdoor.com if you want to network your neighborhood, and I highly recommend that you do. Nextdoor.com, a free service. They'll even send postcards to your neighbors, as you probably don't know their email addresses. 10.7 centimeter radio flux is all the way down to 68. So solar minimum conditions drag on. By the way, I was born in the year of the drag on, and that's a segue. Check out spaceweathernews.com to see the X-ray flux is utterly flatlined. Magnetometer has returned to a smooth range, and the KP index has been pegged at 1 for the last 21 hours. Electron flux is very low, and that's surprising, as the solar minimum activity is so low. We see no charging hazards here, really at all, and the F2 layer is very discharged, especially on the nighttime side. There's the most current image of that. Again, links in the description. Let's look at the gong 2 for the magnetic environment of the heliosphere here. We are still in a North Pole dominated region, shown in green. This data 2 hours and 5 minutes old, and expecting to see some magnetometer spikes on the GOES magnetometer today. As those plages set, they're going to stop affecting the environment. We're going to be back into a South Pole dominated region soon. So if you're interested in that, watch the magnetometer throughout the day. Next, we're going to look at Stereo A's space weather beacon, the coronagraph out there, located at Stereo A. Get all the data, as I did see a small anomaly here yesterday, and I will pause on it momentarily. Otherwise, not a lot going on. This plasma plume that's kind of pointed toward the Earth, but sort of in a southerly orientation. Looks like it's still intact. It's just kind of pulsating there, and it does not look like it's releasing. So here's this anomaly we saw yesterday. I didn't see it yesterday, but it occurred yesterday. And right there, yesterday at 9:54, there was some kind of a pulse that came out of both sides of the sun. Kind of odd. It looks like it's really solar activity there, as you can see the disk for the coronagraph camera is obscuring part of this. But it looks like a real plasma plume there. There's that. It does not appear to have caused any ejecta to head down the interplanetary magnetic field line. And if you're wondering where you are, you're out this way. Way out this way. Unless you're watching from a different galaxy, and if you are, please leave a comment. Milky Way galaxy team for the win. Here's the planetary locations. Here's where they'll be in 1 week. And by the way, we are at Jupiter opposition today. I'm not sure the exact timing, but if you find out, leave a comment. And there's where we'll be in one week, on the way to a Saturn conjunction and a full moon. If you're interested in what's going on above your head, check out in-the-sky.org. If you're up at 3:39 a.m. like I am, I actually got up at midnight today. This is what happens when your metabolism gets to the cycling level. Sometimes you can't sleep. You're better off doing something productive than tossing and turning, folks. So anyway, Jupiter and Saturn are on their way to setting. Venus is on its way to rising. And I ask you, where were you when Cygnus rose? We're going to skip cosmic rays entirely. Let's look at transients. We're going to look at the galactic core, Sagittarius A star. That's the core of the Milky Way galaxy, if you weren't aware. And there are the transients. Of Sagittarius A star. Next, we're going to look at Cygnus X3, favorite cosmic ray source. Tail of the Swan, otherwise known as the star Deneb, a massive X-ray binary involving a Wolf-Rayet star, which is also the celestial North Pole at the other end of the precessional cycle. Now, I have a feeling that this has a great deal to do with the Earth's cosmology, and I'm going to leave it at that. There are the transients from Cygnus X3. Let's look at Cygnus X1, which many believe to be a black hole. There are the transients there. See a little uptick going on there the past few days. Stephen Hawking and Carl Sagan think it's a black hole. Dr. Robitaille and I don't believe in black holes. We think that they're fiction. Let's look at A, the massive radio galaxy, which is the second most significant radio source in the entire sky. And then as a counterpoint, let's just look at the Vela pulsar. Something located at a completely different place. So some transients kicking up from the Vela pulsar also. Nothing like what we saw around day 130. Check that out. Very dense series of transients there. Please follow us on social media. For instance, on Twitter. You may find it easier to share our videos there and help us reach, I don't know, 1,356 subscribers, as if that's some sort of a milestone. Get yourself shadow banned by visiting facebook.com. Just kidding. Visit facebook.com/smAshomash, as there may be additional content there. Never know. I might even interact. Doubt it, but it's possible. Also follow us on Gab, especially if the site loads. Gab.com/smAshomash. Another site. This is the, I guess, non-left-wing version of Twitter. I really don't have any idea. Here's minds.com/smAshomash. Also, the open source social media network that will not censor you or shadow ban you. You will get all your grassroots views. So if you haven't pressed like and subscribe, please do so, as we are currently at 1,355 subscribers. And if you think we're making a lot of money off of our YouTube channel, you are incorrect, because we are making exactly nothing. YouTube, a Google company, has a lot of scam-like features to it. If you weren't aware, we're putting the videos up here primarily because that's how people get to see them. Let's look at earthquake. Here's a 4.1 in Russia. west of the Kamchatka Peninsula. Actually, west of Japan, my bad, west of Japan, near the plate boundary. Here's a 5.2 in Indonesia, a 4.9 in Indonesia. Southeast of that 5.2, here's another 5.2 in Indonesia, in a more central location. We saw 4.1 in Greece. This was midday yesterday, universal time, that is. 4.8, 88 kilometers southeast of Sagave, Wallis, and Futuna, aka Fiji. I don't know why they didn't just say Fiji. Let's zoom in, as I wonder why they said that instead of Fiji. All right, I guess it is closer. Okay. Anyway, there's a location of that earthquake. That one only 10 kilometers deep. 4.6 at the Carlsberg Ridge. And that's, I guess that's southeast of Oman there, Saudi Arabia area, as the Middle East earthquake swarm continues. Here's a 4.3 at Japan at depth, heads up Japan for a larger quake at the surface. Here's a 4.8 at Colombia, same deal there, heads up for a larger quake at the surface there. Let's bring out the chat. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks, Harry, David Schlottower, Kalo Jan, smAsho staff, as well as John Kotowski. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Cheers. Appreciate the comments. Here's a 4.1 in Chile. So we see an uptick in quakes from yesterday. Here's a deep quake at Bolivia, heads up Bolivia. Please leave a comment if you saw your mother-in-law's photograph fall off the wall as a result of this 4.4 quake, although I doubt it because it was at 189 kilometers depth. So be aware for a larger quake at the surface in Bolivia. Here's a 4.6 at Chile. And lastly, the largest quake we've seen in a while in the Caribbean, a 4.2 at Dominica, the Dominican Republic. If you're watching from there, please leave a comment. Next, let's talk about Sinabung. If you're wondering where it is, I've zoomed in on the windy.com map. There's Sinabung's location, and we're looking at the sulfur dioxide content, as it does not appear to be producing a whole lot of sulfur dioxide. Now, we're going to look at the pressure maps here. I'm going to zoom way out. Look at the pressure maps. Let that play through as we do daily. As many of our viewers probably know how to predict earthquakes. We're going to get a similar view to what we saw here on USGS, and then we're just going to let the pressure map play and not get too in depth with it because there's a lot of stuff to cover. Even still. Anyway, here we are approaching midnight universal time tonight. That's the forecast, windy.com. They have a great mobile app. Install it on your smartphone if you know what's good for you. And not much else to say about that. Let's move on to Sinabung. Sinabung produced a stratospheric eruption here, injecting volcanic ash into the stratosphere. Now, this is the kind of thing that makes the planet colder, folks, as volcanic ash causes increased cloud nucleation, not to mention other chemicals injected into the atmosphere, such as carbonyl sulfide. So this thing blew up, producing a 55,000-foot ash plume. This is the third stratospheric level eruption of the year. I'm going to play you a little clip of the big one, which happens right about here. This time-lapse footage from a closed caption TV. Let me back that up a little bit. There we go. You can see all those clouds forming around there. That's probably got to do with the chemical components coming out of the caldera. And there's the explosion. Sadly, this camera is not zoomed out far enough to see the entire extent of this thing, as that's probably only showing you about 8,000 meters of altitude there. This thing went up to quadruple that. Here's a more zoomed out image. Looks like somebody's Twitter. More of a real-time image there, a little clip. Large explosion, though. And you're going to have some Sinabung ash on top of you in a couple of weeks. So enjoy that, folks. Enjoy that. Volcanoes don't make the planet warmer, by the way, if you weren't aware. Volcanoes do not warm the planet. And I don't see a rundown yet for today. Maybe we're too early. We've only got yesterday's report. Oh, it's just labeled wrong. All right, there we go. Anyway, today, Dacono still on the list, calming down a little bit, dropping from a 7,000-foot plume to a 6,000-foot plume. We see Mount Agung, which an eruption was observed at. Popocatépetl back on the list, producing a 19,000-foot ash plume there. And Revenador, also a 17,000-foot ash plume there. Don't jump over that using the Fosbury flop technique. Here are your weather warnings via weather.gov. We've got more flash flood warnings in places like Nevada, Southern California, Arizona. We got hard freeze warnings in northwestern Colorado and western Wyoming. Frost advisories in places. At least some of the flooding has subsided. Check out weather.gov if you're concerned about the weather where you're at. Severe weather kills one person after crane crushes apartment building and parking garage in Dallas amid severe weather. So there's another weather-related death, folks. Probably a little bit of incompetence by the crane company as well. Let's hope their insurance premiums don't go up too much. Here's a U.S. Doppler radar. Let me refresh that, as it might be old. It looks a little old. There we go. And it looks like it's going to rain on me today. And sadly, Texas is still getting some rain, especially in the south central region. Shout out, Texas. If you're watching, please leave a comment. Let's look at lightningmaps.org. As I don't want to cover too much weather and step on David Schlottower's twinkle toes. Next, we're going to look at the water vapor map here. And we're going to look at this Earth spot over Texas. Sorry to have to zoom in on you again, Texas, but this is an interesting convergence zone. And being an astronomy nerd, I can't help but tell our viewers, as above, so below. Man, oh man, that's a powerful one. Look at the shock waves coming out of the leading edge of this thing, down in this area. Look at those Hall current streamers. See all those parallel lines? Looks a little like a sunspot, doesn't it, folks? Those are literally penumbral lines that are essentially perpendicular to the mode of motion of that water. Anyway, there's what's going on. Let's animate the full-size map just to show you what's going on with the rest of the country. We've got dry air in control for once over the central U.S., giving them a little respite there. Let's hope they're able to drain their fields and plant their gardens and so on, as we've been having historic flooding following historic snowfall 2 years in a row. Let's move on to that is an ass, and that is a hole in the ground. And check out that hole in the ground, folks. I didn't Photoshop that. Pretty sure that's real. Don't know where it is. Leave a comment if you've been inside of this gateway to hell. Leave a comment if you came out of the gateway to hell into our prime material plane of existence. Speaking of people who don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, Bernie Sanders does not even have a perfunctory understanding of economics. Look at markets. First with cryptocurrency, as some people seem to think this is a hedge against things like inflation, which it probably is. However, I don't think this is inversely proportional to anything, as this is a unique type of speculative investment. Here's the Bitcoin chart. That's the 1-year chart via the Coinbase exchange. I want to show you the 1-month chart. Actually, I'm going to show you the 3-month chart. Now, I got out of all the cryptocurrency that I own right there. I'm pretty sure it was that exact date. Considering buying back in now. Although, I guess I'll give our viewers a little secret. I want to see this drop lower before doing so. 8,000 seems to be a significant support level for Bitcoin. Let's move on and look at Ethereum for a quick second. Also on the Coinbase exchange, I'm only showing you this exchange because this is the one that I use. And again, I'm not only the smAsho president, but I'm also a client. So about the same graph here for Ethereum and Bitcoin. Ethereum is used by programmers as a means of exchange, not as popular as a crypto as Bitcoin. But if you get yourself a Mines.com account, you'll have added incentive as you can earn Bitcoin based on your views. Anyway, there's Ethereum. We're going to look at a couple more things here. Last I checked, Dow futures were up about 59 points. So the US exchange is looking like it's going to open higher, mainly as a result of the US tariff situation with Mexico as it has improved. Now, I'm a huge critic of tariffs, as I think that they are a stupid government intervention and that they are nothing more than a tax that raises the price for consumers. Let's look at some commodities and futures here. I haven't looked at oil for a while, so I'm going to bring up oil. The 1-year chart. There's the 1-year chart of oil. It's actually quite low right now. And considering that the planet is going to keep getting colder for another 2 years, this seems like excessively low. If you look at all of the data, I don't know if it's going to load this or not. I would note that it was at, 140 bucks or whatever, or 127 bucks a barrel here. Closed at 140 back in 2009, I think it was. 2008. So this is an interesting turn of events here. Also, I noticed some weakness in gold and silver. So silver down 27 cents here. This is kind of surprising to me. We have had a little run up here recently. I would also note that during the financial crisis, following the financial crisis, I should say, in 2011, it went all the way up to nearly 50 bucks. We're going to look at wheat futures. There's the 1-year chart for wheat. The recent run-up has finally shown a little bit of a profit taking there. And look at corn. Similar run-up in corn. And also, I want to look at coffee, as coffee has not seen a run-up. Kind of surprising. Oh, I stand corrected. Coffee has totally seen a run-up. And now I feel confused. All right. Anyway, let's look at a larger chart here with all the data. Going back to 2005. And once again, I guess coffee and silver are correlated. Who knew that? Who knew? Coffee and silver. Huh. So the US dollar index is up. And let's just look at the S&P chart also to give you an idea of the US stock market. As keep in mind, the stock market is not the economy, folks. The economy is all of the goods and services and currencies and government activity around the world. There's the 1-year S&P chart. And let's look at the all data chart here also for the S&P. If it loads, which would be optimal. And there you can see the historic run up in the S&P chart. Here's the 5-year. And let's move on. Now, there's some protests going on in Hong Kong over extradition treaties with China. Thanks, David Devine, for sharing this one. Let's share it with the viewers. This is some kind of a protest march going on in Taiwan regarding extradition treaties, as I guess it's not going to play. China's been having some problems. Let's just say China's been having some problems. And now we're having some problems too, as the feed has frozen like a Neanderthal's brain. Anyway, let's move on to a Zero Hedge article talking about how Beijing bans the Washington Post, Guardian websites amid political crackdown. Anyway, there are already links in the description to this article, as well as most of the other stuff that we visited today. So read on about the way China is trying to destroy the internet nearly as effectively as companies like Apple, Google, Facebook, and Twitter. So I say to you, if you're wondering who the cavalry is, it's you. So de oppresso liber, viewers, and thanks for tuning in. If you're wondering what that Latin translates to, it translates to from the oppressed, the free. Check out solon.info if you want to find out more stuff about the sun and about how there are no sunspots. If you want to do stuff like compare all the solar cycles, they got all the graphs you want. There are cycles 1 through 24, dating all the way back to 1760. This is based on sunspot number. Again, the 10.7 centimeter radial flux is back down to 68 legit grand solar minimum conditions. Or I should say solar minimum conditions, as I think we've got another cycle ahead. Here are the comparisons to 23 and 24. So anyway, lots of info there at solon.info. And there's that 10.7 centimeter radial flux number located right there. Very low, but at least a little bit more activity popping off. So speaking of activity popping off, I'm going to refresh this as it's showing us old data once again. And then we're going to open up the chat and try to respond to any comments. Let's look at the colored magnetogram here in animated form and call this thing a day. David Schlotauer, please pump us on your channel, as we can't even seem to reach 1,400 subscribers. Not sure why that is. David Schlotauer, yes. What a star, what a star. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Harry, but the science is definitely not settled. Deutsche Bank is all the way down to $5 a share? That's crazy. All right, it's about that time, folks. So thanks again for tuning in. And remember, when you're staring at the sun, don't drink. And if you drink, stare at the sun anyway. Just don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your veins.